How's it going, Habibis? Today we are doing a new deck for the playlist we have on our channel. How the heck do you play that deck? Today we're not going to be going over Dark Magician, but you're probably going to see this replay one day, this Anti-1E. We're coming for you later. But today we're going to be going over a different Yugi archetype deck. We are talking about, drum roll please, Chimera. Specifically Chimera Azamina Fiendsmith. Crazy deck. You could play this deck just Chimera, but the Fiendsmith Azamina package really elevates it. I wanted to show this replay. These are all from our ranked duels. We made it to Master 1 with this deck, and it was the easiest climb I've ever had, I tell you guys. Playing these like top tier decks is insane, and I feel like this deck, it has a bit of a learning curve, but once you get over it, it's pretty easy to play, to be honest with you. So let's see here. And maybe it's not easy to play. I don't know. I don't want to blow smoke up anyone's, you know. But it could be difficult, but once you get the hang of it, beautiful what we can accomplish. Let's see what this deck can do. Now, I don't want to go into too much depth here, because if you guys would like to see a full combo breakdown, I will definitely do that video. Just let me know in the comments below. What we did here, we used Nightmare Apprentice with the Necrom in our hand, and the Necrom here is basically a bridge to Fiendsmith. So the beautiful thing about this deck, all three engines are intertwined. Chimera can get you into Azamina plays as well as Fiendsmith plays, okay? So we discard the Necrom to go into the Adjusted Gold. Adjusted Gold is a Light Fiend monster. So it being a Light Fiend means you can go into your Fiendsmith Requiem. Now also too, something to note, this Necrom you guys are gonna see, it's usually sent off of our Chimera fusion. That's typically how we do it in the archetype. But because it was in our hand, we were able to discard it with Nightmare Apprentice, which also, I guess, is an archetype. So now we're going to do our Fiendsmith combo, and I think the most important thing to remember with this is sequencing. No pun intended on Fiendsmith. Sequence hitting the field. Sequencing is key. It's probably the biggest skill gap in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, because everything's pretty much, you know, go, 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 especially with this Fiendsmith engine. Now, something to note here, for those that don't know, typically when you go into sequence, you basically want to make sure you keep the engraver in the graveyard. It's very basic, but you know, I definitely made the mistake when I first started playing Fiendsmith to shuffle the Fiendsmith engraver back in. You keep engraver in the grave most of the time. So we added back here so that we can get the Fiendsmith tracked, and this is part of the sequencing that I'm talking about. Knowing when to do stuff. When do I do my Fiendsmith plays versus my Chimera plays versus my Azamina plays? How do I intertwine them? And here you're going to see that. Okay. So at this point, I know my opponent doesn't have any hand traps. They played Fulos, we outed it. So here, what I could do is I could just go into like an Appaloosa using these two, or these three monsters, but I would really be missing out. So here we're gonna go Chimera. We're gonna switch over to Chimera side of things, and we'll come back to the Fiendsmith side in a sec. That's why I said sequencing can be tough. We're going to fuse into Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, and we're gonna go into this beautiful Chain Link 3 here. Both of these cards have effects when they're used as fusion material. Gazelle is going to allow us to search for the key card that's going to allow us to bridge into Azamina plays. Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, is going to hand rip during the end phase, so that's very good. And then Big Wing Baphomet summons another body, an illusion monster from the graveyard. We're going to search for LZ Azamina. We're going to add back the Chimera fusion. Now we have the bodies on the field. We want to keep Lacrima. We're going to go into a 3-mat Appaloosa. Okay. Now we have a Light Fiend in the graveyard. We can summon out the engraver. Right? So we're basically pacing ourselves when we're activating certain effects. Now we are basically done with our Fiendsmith line. Our Fiendsmith line has gotten us a 3-mat Appaloosa and a DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, which if you guys don't know what Caesar does, you're living under a rock. This card is amazing. It's a pain in the butt to deal with. Negates two monster special summon effects that are off of spell, trap, or monster effect activations, and is not once per turn. You can activate this card twice in one turn. Crazy. Okay. We're going to go Chimera Fusion here. Chimera Fusion is now going to go into Baphomet. The card we send here, we don't need to, but we're going to send it anyways. We already have a Mirror Sword Knight, and for those that do not know, Mirror Sword Knight is a negate, a monster effect negate if you have a Chimera. We have 2 of them in the graveyard, but since I knew my opponent was playing Branded, I knew they might be playing Bestials. I don't want them to banish my Mirror Sword Knight. So, we're going to use LZ's effect to special summon itself, then we're going to use her second effect to fuse into Azamina Moa Regina. Now, why are we going into Moa Regina? You're going to see Moa Regina is going to allow us to summon out the LZ, and we are going to synchro summon into Chaos Angel. Now, the real question is, why are you going into Chaos Angel? Well, here's why. When Elzet's used as a synchro material, her third effect triggers. We are allowed to search for any Sinful Spoils card. We search for Deception. So this is now the Chimera Engine bridging into the Azamina Engine. Now, for you guys that watch my Dark Magician videos, and hopefully, new people that are interested in learning how to play Chimera, you guys have probably seen this regardless. This is your typical Azamina line, okay? We're going to search for Wanted, and we're going to use the Hollowed Azamina's effect in the graveyard to put back the Elzet, right? Usually we have to put this back, but we are going to actually just put back the the Elzet because it's an Azamina card. So now we go Hollowed Azamina, chain Wanted, grab Yubel Star, and summon out our Ilia Sylvia. Okay? Next, what we're going to do is we're going to tribute send our Mew to the graveyard, summon out the Yubel Star. Yubel Star is going to set our Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morian. Now, this is a great card. It's basically a Book of Moon. We're going to use the Wanted in the graveyard to draw one card and end our turn. And then that hand rip occurs. So our opponent starts their turn with 3 cards in hand. 4 cards when they draw. Now, we're going to analyze our board in just a second, but first we have to use our Chimera effects in the graveyard. Both of them have effects during our opponent's turn. The first one allows us to summon a illusion, fiend, or beast from the graveyard, and the second one here allows us to special summon one of those types from the banished zone. So this can also be used to special summon the Chaos Angel. Keep that in mind. That could be a disruption if you activate it during your opponent's turn when you need something like for spot removal. But in this case, we're going to activate them right away because I just wanted to make this big beefy board. Now let's see what we really have here, okay? We have a 3 negate Appaloosa, not too shabby. We have 2 special summon negates off of DDD Wave High King Caesar, 5 disruptions, okay. Now, we have our Chimera here with Mirror Sword Knight in the graveyard. That's a monster effect negate. We have Ilia Sylvia, which is a Omni negate. We have our Book of Moon, our Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morian, I don't know. That's a Book of Moon, that's another negate. And then we have our Azamina Moa Regina, which can be chained to either one of these effects to pop up to 2 monsters on the field. Or 2 cards on the field, excuse me. Now, this is 10 disruptions, guys. 10 possible disruptions on the board. Let's see what Roger here can do. And you know what? They do their darndest to try and beat this. And they almost do, to be honest with you. But the fact that we were able to get a hand rip here off of Chimera really helps us. They go into Droplet, and if they had more cards to discard with Droplet, they might have gotten us. We dodged the Droplet, so we used Caesar's effect to negate the special summon. They were going to negate that. I Book of Moon my High King Caesar. So now they cannot select the Caesar with Droplet. They negate 2 other cards, but the fusion deployment does get negated. They're left with 1 card in hand, and they go into Branded Fusion. Now, I like to think that my opponent had no idea that I have this Mirror Sword Knight face down, because they go Albion attempts to fuse. We're going to use Mirror Sword Knight, negate the Albion. That's a secret negate. A lot of people don't know about the Mirror Sword Knight. People are sleeping on Chimera, man. This is a borderline top tier deck. It's a really good deck. Now, you might think we don't have any other disruptions here, and we kind of don't. But realistically, what we could have done is we could have chained Azamina Ilia Sylvia's effect. It would have gotten negated, but then we could have chained Moa Regina to that effect and popped 2 cards on the field. But I didn't want to do that. It probably would have been better if my opponent attacked over Ilia Sylvia, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Too much gas here. They're going to scoop because the Sinful Spoils in the graveyard, the Morian, would have reset itself because it could do that once per duel. And we would have chained Moa Regina to that and popped 2 cards on the field. Too much for Roger. This deck is amazing. It can do so much. Let's go over the deck list so you guys can kind of see what cards we play and why we play them. Alrighty, Habibis, Chimera Smithina is the deck that we took to Master 1. This deck is gas. It can do so much. Let's go over it quickly here. Okay, so let's talk about the Chimera Engine. The Gazelle is the star of the show, but Kodal, Sword Knight, and Nightmare Apprentice are your 1-card starters. I played Kodal at 3 in the past, but I'm trying to trim the deck. I know you guys see 44 cards here. Because we're playing 3 big engines together, it's kind of thick, so I hate seeing 2 Kodals in my hand, and I want my opening hand to always, all 5 cards to do something. So I decided to cut Kodal to 2. You could play it at 3, but this is the ratio that's been working for me. You want to trust me on this, guys. I've been playing this deck for 5 whole days. I'm basically a pro. So Mirror Sword Knight is a 1-card starter. If that's all you have, you can go into Big Wing Baphomet. Now, Big Wing Baphomet, I played at 1. I feel like the second one doesn't come up, but it does lock you into fusions. However, it will allow you to go Chimera Fusion and Gazelle and let you set up some disruption for your opponent's turn. Nightmare Apprentice is a crazy card. If we do end up doing a combo breakdown on this deck, which I'd love to do, Nightmare Apprentice 1-card combo can do so much for you. It's insane. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about in the main deck, because you guys know the Azamina and Fiendsmith package, right? You guys saw how LZ basically bridges into the Azamina plays. But Diabel's here. You guys are going to see Diabel's in the future in our replays here. And basically what Diabel's does is it's a miniature floodgate, and it acts as a mini game that can win you the entire game. So basically your opponent must set cards before they can activate them, spells and traps that is, and they cannot activate cards like Imperm, called by quick effect spells, can't activate them at all, okay? Because those can't be set, those can be activated the turn they're set. Now, what it can do is if your opponent sets a very important spell or trap, and you activate Diabel's effect to pop a card on the field when a card is set once per turn, you can potentially pop a very important card for them and cause them to scoop. Now, lately I've been, kind of failing at this mini game, but still it's a great card to have. In terms of the extra deck, the only thing of note here, I'm not playing Desiree. I'm not playing Fiendsmith Desiree. You could play it, but I feel like it's better to go into Wave King High Caesar. Basically, you have the choice between these two. You can't go into both. And I think Caesar's just a little bit better. And we already have an Omni Negate with Ilya Sylvia, so your choice there, preference basically. But the other thing I did want to mention actually is the synergy with Morian here, to go back to Diabel's. Diabel's can be special summoned if you have a Sinful Spoils card in the graveyard. So if you are able to send Deception during your Azamina plays, Deception is Sinful Spoils, that gives you a card to easily special summon the Diabel's. So very easy card to summon, very helpful, that effect, being able to special summon it. And that pretty much covers the deck for the most part that I wanted to hit on. If you guys have any specific questions, let me know. I'll post this deck on Master Duel Meta so everyone can see it. But let's go into some more replays and let's see what Chimera Azamina can really accomplish. Okay, so that duel that we just went over was more of an advanced line. I'm gonna probably label it as such on the timestamps. Here we're gonna go just some good old-fashioned Chimera plays to start things off, okay? We're gonna just use our Chimera Engine at the beginning here. So we're gonna use our Nightmare Apprentice effect to search for Codal, and then we're gonna summon out the Mirror Sword Knight, okay? Now, Mirror Sword Knight can tribute itself and summon out either Big Wing Baphomet or Gazelle. We already have the Baphomet, so we're gonna grab Gazelle. Gazelle is going to grab a Chimera Fusion, and we're going to activate it, and we are gonna now fuse into our Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. You could, in this situation, go into the other one first, but here I wanted to be able to, you could go into this one first if you'd like, but I'd rather go into this one, and then if possible, go into that second one. The hand rip for this one is huge, Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, but this is the one that really enabled us to make our plays, because like I mentioned in the previous replay, we usually use this card right here to send our Evil Hero Necrom. Gazelle is going to trigger, allowing us to add a card from our deck to our hand. We are going to send the Necrom, like I said, and we're going to add that LZ Azamina. Summon out the LZ, activate Chimera Fusion, add it back to our hand. We're going to go into Moa Regina, just like we saw in the previous replay. Now we're going to start stemming into our Azamina line. So Chaos Angel here is going to be summoned. We're going to grab Deception, tribute the Chaos Angel. Now, something else to keep in mind with this Chaos Angel, it can be summoned off of the effect of the Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, and also it can be summoned off of this effect too, because it's a Fiend monster. So it can act as a secret disruption out of the graveyard sometimes if you do summon it by using the effect of the Chimeras during your opponent's turn, okay? And then you can, banish a card like Chaos Angel does. But anyways, we're gonna go into our Azamina line, okay? Same thing, rinse and repeat. That's modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, fellas. I hope you guys like it. You just keep doing the same thing over and over again. We're gonna go into our Evil Hero, adjusted gold, start doing the Fiendsmith combo, because why the heck not? I want to get maximum volume, value. That's why I did this. That's why I did it the way I did. Like I said, sequencing is key, okay? As sequence gets, no pun, I mean it. I'm not trying to make the pun, but sequencing is key here, okay? You want to get maximal value. I wanted to make sure that Mew was not just sent to add back the Hallowed Azamina without actually being able to link it off to something. Okay, so we're gonna use that engraver to add the tract. Tract is gonna summon the Lori. Lori is gonna get discarded and then special summon itself because that's what it does. Okay. Now we're gonna use that Hallowed Azamina effect, add it back to the hand. Chain, Wanted, you know how it goes. Summon out Ilya Sylvia, bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Summon out the Yubel Star. We don't need the cross out. My opponent has nothing, I can tell by this point. Set that Morian. Now we're gonna go into a 3-mat Appaloosa, engraver effect, summon itself back to the field, go into the wave High King Caesar, activate the Wanted, let's draw a card, and that's it. So I was hoping that I'd be able to get another Gazelle, just so I can go into Big Wing, so I can go into that Chimera here for the hand rip. It didn't turn out that way, but nevertheless, we still are able to set up a good amount of disruption here, okay? And it's all through the Chimera Engine, and unfortunately, it's at the expense of a hero player. I do apologize to Rengoku here, because, you know, I hate to see it. I love to see heroes prosper, but not in this situation. I gotta get my wins, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, that's how you turn the Chimera Engine into all of this, you know, Omni Negate, Wave King, 3 negates here, Morian, and then not to mention, I was hoping we'd be able to show it with this replay, but we couldn't. This is typically a Chimera Fusion. You use you use this Chimera Fusion to go into Guardian Chimera, which is, you know, 2 pops and a draw usually. So crazy what we can do here. I love this deck. Let's keep going over some replays. Okay, guys, so L streamer here, L YouTuber. I probably should have maybe went over this one first, but you know what? You're gonna see this one third. This is more of a simplified Chimera stuff, okay? You know, we'll see what happens here, okay? Going up against the Labyrinth sleeves, but they're deceptive. We're gonna go Yubel Star. First thing, Yubel Star. Like I said, sequencing is key. I'm gonna get this Sinful Spoils of Slumber in the graveyard. That is very, very important, okay? So we get negated. We're gonna go Nightmare Apprentice, get rid of the Imperm. Because I'm like, Labyrinth sleeves, maybe they're actually on Labyrinth. We don't need to Imperm much for Labyrinth. I'm gonna Ash the Maxi, so just like that, we're playing through 2 hand traps, okay? We're gonna go Nightmare Apprentice. Nightmare Apprentice is gonna grab the Kodal. Kodal is gonna grab Mirror Sword Knight. We still have not normal summoned. I'm gonna use Mirror Sword Knight's effect. And in the previous replays, you saw us go into Gazelle. Here we're gonna go into Big Winged Baphomet. Now, Big Winged Baphomet has a much better effect than Gazelle. It allows us to search for Chimera Fusion and Gazelle. Now, there's a downside. The downside is you cannot do anything, you can't summon anything out of the extra deck except fusion monsters. So if you're going into Big Wing Baphomet, make sure it's the last thing you do or it's out of desperation, okay? So 1-card combo here with Sword Knight can get you Big Wing Baphomet, and it can go into what I mentioned earlier is this beautiful Chain Link 3 that we are able to pull off. We go Chimera, we get a hand rip here, so our opponent's gonna start off the duel with 2 cards in their hand, and we get to summon a fusion monster, and then we use Gazelle's effect to search for Yubel's the original Sin Keeper, and we are gonna summon her. Now, you might be asking, how did you summon her? Well, if you remember at the beginning of the duel, I discarded my Sinful Spoils Morian? Sinful Spoils of Slumber. And Yubel's reads, if a Sinful Spoils card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Now, here's the really good part. We can activate Morian's effect in the graveyard to set itself because we have a level 6 or higher, level 5 or higher illusion monster. We rip a card out of the hand, and of course, the Labyrinth player is really a Tenpai player. We're gonna go Mirror Sword Knight here, and they're done. They're donezo. So for those that don't know, I didn't explain it. Yubel's is like a miniature floodgate, okay? Can really screw over your opponent. This is a really good card for this deck. It's a card, though, that I'll be honest, I've thought about taking in and out. I've been playing it from 95% of these duels, but I've been taking it out sometimes just because I've been missing on these. You know, I was in the meta weekly using this deck, and I missed, and my miss really hurt me, and it kind of scarred me for life. But anyways, still, good card. You should probably play it. Alrighty, last duel of the day. Let's see what we got here. So, this was a back and forth against a Yubel player. And typically Yubel gets stopped by Droll. However, now that they're playing Fiendsmith, they are actually not stopped much at all. They can do a lot of stuff here just with this Moon of the Closed Heaven. I'm going to fast forward through this because it is a little bit of a longer duel. However, it has a great ending. Trust me, you're going to want to see it. They're going to make their normal Fiendsmith plays, and I'm going to just talk about how much I'm enjoying this deck. One, it makes me feel very powerful, right? And, you know, there's times where I don't feel powerful playing this game, especially when Dark Magician is struggling. But this deck has been a lot of fun. It's been a breath of fresh air, you know? So here we're going to use that Codal to get the Mirror Sword Knight, and we'll go Nightmare Apprentice. Nightmare Apprentice is going to ditch the Fulos. We don't need it, and we're going to grab some Yubels, okay? Now, we're going to go into Chaos Angel here. I could have used Sword Knight's effect to, you know, do its stuff, but I didn't want it to get negated by the Wave High King Caesar, so we're going to just banish Caesar there, and we'll go into our Azamina line now. We're going to go into Moa Regina. Moa Regina is going to be able to summon out this Mirror Sword Knight, but he gets called by the grave. So I had a strategy here, right? Getting rid of Mirror Sword Knight was temporary. However, they did have called by, so they outed it. Now, when I activate Hallowed Azamina, I could chain my Moa Regina's effect to pop 2 cards on the field, which is very huge. We want to get rid of this Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain is a nightmare pain to deal with. You feel me? We're going to go into Murasalago, and now that their field is empty, they do activate Fulos. Now, could I have potentially pushed for game here? Maybe. It would have been risky to take that chance, and it wouldn't have been a guarantee, and I would have just given my opponent a bunch of extra cards. Didn't want to do that. I felt pretty good about this. We have Disruption with the Moon, the Book of Moon effect here, and also we could chain Moa Regina. So I felt like we were in good shape. I was wrong, it turns out. My opponent is going to, you know, basically do what Yubel does, and that's amass resources in a incredibly short amount of time. Okay? So I made a very conscious decision here. The Fiendsmith engine kind of cooked me. It destroyed my Moa Regina. They sent it to the graveyard. I could have saved it, but I knew what was in my opponent's hand. I knew what kind of plays they would make, and I wanted to keep this. This was my last big disruption. So I wanted to be sure I can use it, and I think we use it at a pretty good time. So they're going to opening here, grab another Dark Beckoning Beast, and they're going to special summon their Samsara. I'm going to Book of Moon it, and that effectively, you know, saved me for now. So Yama in the graveyard, when Yama is destroyed, it allows them to summon out their Samsara, and now they can start making plays again. So we did the best we could with what we have, and here I'm starting to think I might take the L on this one. But my opponent has 1,000 life points. Let's see what we can do here. Something tells me we're gonna finagle our way to victory. Let's see. So they summon out Unchained Soul of Rage. They've set up all these disruptions for my turn. Took them a long time to do this, right? Modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, guys. Modern day Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, this is what's interesting. They use SP Little Knight to get rid of my Hallowed Azamina, which is an okay play, but there was a better play that they could have made, and you're going to see in just a sec what they should have done. So now they're going to go into Desiree. Desiree is going to set up some negates that I'm going to have to deal with. They're also going to go into Phantom of Yubel, okay? So I'm in trouble here. So now we don't have much going for us. We draw into Dark Ruler No More, okay? This is when I was playing Dark Ruler No More in the deck. I forgot to mention that. I adjusted some ratios and I ended up cutting Dark Ruler No More. You could play it. I genuinely think I was playing 46 cards. Or maybe I was playing 45 cards and I cut TTT. That's what it was. So I played 2 Dark Ruler No Mores and I cut TTT. So I was playing 45 cards. But anyways, Dark Ruler No More came in clutch here. We negate everything. We attack over the Phantom of Yubel. Okay? We're going to flip this Deception. And we are going to reset our Morian face down. Okay? So this is where we kind of outplay our opponent a little bit. They are going to activate Sequence's effect. We are going to chain Morian, flipping Desiree face down. So now the sequence goes to the graveyard. Deception of the Sinful Spoils triggers, hitting them for 1,500 damage per game. That was genuinely our only path to victory, and my opponent walked right into it, and we played it perfectly. So, very fun duel there. You don't get to win duels like that all the time, but this deck can pull off some miracles. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, and sub to the channel for more awesome duels like this one. and let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know if there's new decks that you guys want me to play. I'm really enjoying this Chimera one, so maybe it'll be coming to our rotation of, you know, stuff that we show regularly on the channel. I like it. Hopefully you do too. But until next time, Habibis, take care of yourselves. Go out everywhere and make somebody's day special. Peace and love, Habibis.